Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I am the Omni-Viewer, and today I have another unscripted trailer reaction. This time to a movie that I didn't really think much of at first, but now I really want to see succeed, I'm rather surprised to say. That would be the Peanuts movie. Now, do I even have to say that I'm a Peanuts fan? I mean, who isn't? How dead do you have to be inside to not like Peanuts? Even if you're not like an Uber fan, you must still like them on some level. I mean, Charlie Brown is the ultimate underdog. All the characters are great. It's a surprisingly deep comic strip, when you get right down to it. Discusses some really complex themes. And of course, there's the Christmas special, which is still iconic even all these decades later. So, of course, the movie is coming out soon. In November, believe it or not. Actually, really suddenly. So, when I first heard about it, I, like many other people, was kind of like, really? That's not going to be good at all. I mean, because of course they were going with CGI, like every other animated film these days. And, you know, Peanuts is not the sort of thing that most of us thought would look good in CGI. And the track record of adapting those sort of works into theatrical films these days has not been very good. I mean, just in the realm of comic strips alone, look at how bad Garfield and the Smurfs turned out. So, you know, it seemed like it was gonna be a bad move, just a shameless cash grab. But then I saw the first teaser trailer, which gave us our first look at the animation style, and that was enough to make me think, okay, you've got my attention, but I'm still not entirely sold. I'll talk more about the animation in a moment. But now that this most recent trailer has come out, I've suddenly realized that I really want this movie to do well. Like, more than any other movie I've done a trailer reaction to so far. Godzilla, Deadpool, Jurassic World. Forget it. I want Peanuts to succeed more than all of them, and I am as surprised about that as you are. So, the question is, why? I've been thinking about it, and I've realized that there are two major things riding on this movie, besides, you know, bringing the Peanuts into the 21st century and having it continue to be a viable franchise, outside of promoting life insurance. The two things riding on it are the future quality of family entertainment and the survival of the G rating. Now, the future of family entertainment, what do I mean by that? Well, here's something that I noticed when I really started thinking about this. Modern family films, especially the animated kind, you know, a lot of them are garbage, but there are some really good ones. Pixar puts out good ones. DreamWorks has finally figured out how to do good ones with How to Train Your Dragon and Kung Fu Panda. But I noticed something that they all have in common. They are all somehow adventures. They are all about big cinematic scope. And there's always a goal, there's a villain, most of the time anyway. Sometimes it's hard to define who the villain is at first. That's way off topic, that's a detail for another day. But they are all sort of adventure-based. And of course, when you get to the movie of a long-running franchise like the Peanuts, or even something not as long-running, there's sort of this expectation that the movie be more in that vein. And I realized that based on the trailer for this film, the Peanuts movie is looking to be more of a down-to-earth slice-of-life story, with the exception of the World War I sequences, which I'll, again, get to in a moment. But I think that's kind of a big deal, because part of the reason why these kind of movies are adventure-based is because it's going back to that idea that kids won't pay attention, and those are the primary audience, I recognize, but that kids won't pay attention if there's not something exciting happening. And this movie, the Peanuts movie, has the potential to change that, if I'm reading it correctly and it really is a slice of life story. There doesn't appear to be a grand villain. There's no evidence that they're going to be saving something. It's just Charlie Brown trying to overcome his own self-doubt and the bad reputation he's been saddled with, and potentially get into the good graces of the little red-haired girl. And that's kind of a big deal, because if they do it right and it's successful, the two have to kind of go together, because you can do something right and not make a cent, which means people will ignore you. But if they do it right and it's successful, that could completely change the scope of what family entertainment means. It might finally get across this idea in Hollywood that kid-friendly entertainment doesn't have to be the same as jingling your keys in someone's face. You can actually sit them down to a slice-of-life story, and they will still be able to relate to that, because Charlie Brown is infinitely relatable. We've either all been him, or we've wanted to be there for him, or someone like him, and I think that's quite a significant thing, that it's trying for something a little different, based on the trailer. I could be way off base. But the second topic is, like I said, survival of the G rating. Holy crud, there is a G-rated movie in 2015. How long has it been since we had a... Well, it was a couple of years before now that we got the Oogie Loves, but that was an abomination and it was hardly promoted at all. How long has it been since we got a G-rated movie with any sort of clout behind it? I think it was back in the late 90s. So, I could be wrong, feel free to correct me, but it has been a very long time. A lot of people have said the G rating is completely and utterly dead, and yet here comes the Peanuts movie, big name movie, with a G rating. And again, if it does well, and it does the subject matter well, if it's a financial success and it's a critical success, well, the G rating comes back. And why do I think that's a good thing? Because I know a lot of you are probably thinking, what's he so excited about the G rating for? G rating isn't all that great. Well, if you'll pardon my bluntness, that's your fault. You are looking at the G rating as a restriction. I look at it more as a challenge. How do you convey a story that literally everyone can enjoy without alienating anyone, whether you're an adult or a child, and that a child can actually revisit as an adult and realize just how much they were being told, how many mature subject matters they were being presented in a way that they could understand and maybe even is still profound to them in adulthood. The G rating actually can allow that. Look at the Don Bluth filmography. Look at any Disney film of the second renaissance of the 90s or even back in the original. I mean, these days, PG is synonymous with G, which is stupid, because when you compare movies like Frozen and Tangled, there's absolutely no reason why they should be PG, while Cinderella and The Lion King and Beauty and the Beast and Snow White and all those are G. And, you know, G doesn't necessarily mean bad quality. Just a moment, it's somewhere here. There it is. 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, Disney version. See right there? That is a G rating. This is considered the best adaptation of 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, with a G rating, and it doesn't shy away from anything either. It is intense. It's got some hardcore stuff in there. So, if the Peanuts movie does well, and it is successful, and does everything right, then it could actually get the whole rating system back on track. So, the question therefore is, does it look like it's actually going to be good? I mean, there's automatically an audience for this, because it's aimed at a family audience, and, like I said, it's the Peanuts. one of the bigger names out there. So, as I watched the trailer, I will say there's only one red flag that jumped out at me. I mean, with the Deadpool trailer, there were all sorts of red flags there, but with Peanuts, I'm surprised to say there's only one, and that's the inclusion of the pop music in the soundtrack. And it's not just because I don't like modern pop music. I mean, they included Baba O'Reilly by The Who, and that still is kind of throwing me, because pop music in the Peanuts, I'm not sure I like. The Peanuts have indulged in pop music before. Look up It's Flash Beagle Charlie Brown, I think is the name. That is a cartoon of the Peanuts built around 80s disco. Trust me, it's 100% legitimate. And usually, though, the Peanuts is associated with classical music, particularly Beethoven, and jazz music. So the inclusion of modern pop, it just strikes me as wrong somehow, but not just because I don't like modern pop music. Peanuts is timeless. It is designed to be timeless. A strip written in 1965 is indistinguishable from a strip written in 1995. That is how timeless it is. And if you were to ask me what I think the exact opposite of timeless is, like its exact antithesis, I'd have to say modern pop music. Modern pop music does not last long at all. Compare the top 20 hits of this year to the top 20 hits of 2 years ago. You will notice such a huge difference. The trends changed that quickly. So it's possible it's just for the trailer, but I don't know. That particular part just rubs me the wrong way. And yet everything else has me at least cautiously optimistic. The characters seem to be intact. I didn't notice anything that made me say, that's not Linus, that's not the Linus I know, or Peppermint Patty would never do something like that, or anything. They all seem to be intact. Granted, most of who we see are Charlie Brown and Snoopy, but either way, there was nothing that leapt out at me. The animation, like I said, I'd get to that. That looks amazing, I'm surprised to say. It's CGI, there is no getting around that, but it's done in such a way that it looks almost like stop motion as far as frame rate goes, and that it can actually look 2D from the right angle. Like, take any random screenshot from the trailer, line it up to a panel from the comic strip, it'll match up almost perfectly. They really put a lot of thought into that. I don't know if this style of animation has a name yet, but it needs one, and it needs to catch on, because it looks really good. What else? Like I said, the fact that it's trying for something a bit more grounded is a good thing. And there are two elements I'm going to reserve judgment on. Those elements are the flying sequences, the World War I flying sequences, and the role of the little red-haired girl. Now, Snoopy, a major part of his shtick, his character, is that he likes to imagine that he's a World War I flying ace, and that his doghouse is a Sopwith Camel, a kind of plane that he flies around. Now, in the strips, it was always just him sitting on a doghouse and narrating. He would turn to the left or the right, depending on what direction he was going, and it was all carried by his narration. And we didn't need anything more than that. For the cartoons, he didn't talk. He had a voice, but he couldn't actually form words. So instead, they amped up the visuals just a little. Camera angles, color filters, sound effects. I want to say they used live-action stock footage once or twice, but I don't remember where, so don't quote me on that. But otherwise, it was still pretty minimalist as far as action sequences go. This movie looks to be going in the route of fully realizing them. He's not in a plane, he's still on his doghouse, but the doghouse will be flying, it'll be surrounded by other planes, it'll be swooping through the sky in dogfights, pun possibly intended. And I'm on the fence about that, because on the one hand, they might just feel like interruptions. They might feel like the key jingling thing. Let's throw in an action sequence to keep them awake. But on the other hand, if they do it right, it could be amazing. I mean, How to Train Your Dragon, we've seen how amazing flying can look when it's done with CGI animation. Done properly, I should specify. So if they use that as a template, these could actually be really great. And then there's the presence of the little red-haired girl. Now, this seems to be what the primary focus of the plot is. Charlie Brown wants to win her affections, which means overcoming his own self-doubt. So, from the trailer, I can discern that she's going to be a bit more of a physical presence. In the strip, she was always off-screen. She was an abstract concept. She appeared once, very, very briefly, in one of the cartoons, the New Year's Eve special. And it was only a walk-on, saw her from behind, didn't even last 5 seconds, so it hardly even counts. But this looks like it's going to have her be more there, and who knows, we might even finally get to see her. And on the one hand, there's a part of me that doesn't want that mystery to be solved, because, you know, keeping her abstract helped to keep Charlie Brown relatable, because we know he's not after a specific thing. He's after something, like I keep saying, abstract, unknown, intangible. So it could technically be anything he's after, and we can relate to it. But on the other hand, potential new character. I'm open to at least seeing how that goes. So yeah, I didn't know I wanted this movie to succeed as much as I do, but now that I do know that, I really, really want it to do well. So, we will see how it turns out. I'm hoping I can get in to see it. Hopefully they won't turn me away for being a creepy-looking adult trying to get in to see a kid's movie, but we will see. Well, anyway, I've got other stuff I've got to do now, so until such time as we meet again, this is the Omni-Viewer signing off. You know he's Flash, 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 Flash Beagle.